What the bill also does is it does not allow accreditation agencies to require our Florida institutions to break state law. And so what happens is these accreditors will say, no, you must have DEI as part of your operating ethos in order to earn accreditation. That's ridiculous. Who elected these people to make such a determination? That is them sitting in a perch, unaccountable to anybody else, trying to impose that on the university system without any ability for us to have a check and balance. And so state law is now just saying, you got to follow the law. Creditor tells you to break the law, you cannot do that. And I think that that's really, really important to ensure that our universities are able to make sound decisions and not be bullied into doing things by some of these ideologically charged accreditation agencies. The bill will also re-empower our university presidents to be the core decision maker at their institutions by prohibiting personnel actions from being appealed beyond the university president. And really, you have a situation, who ultimately runs the university? Is it kind of a cabal of faculty, or is it the president and the board of trustees? We believe that it should be the president and the board of trustees because they're more accountable to the people of Florida, who they're using our tax dollars, and we think that it's easier to be able to make changes if they're failing at their mission. And so presidents can now make direct hires. They don't have to delegate down to faculty committees on these decisions. And so what does that mean practically? Well, what it means is and we put a huge amount of money into faculty recruitment. So you could have Richard Corcoran here at New College. He could go to like George Mason or MIT and meet with the professors who were interested in coming here, and he can recruit them. He can provide them an offer for compensation. Board of Trustees can ratify that, and you're going to be able to have a potential to have a pipeline of people that are going to want to come here. I can tell you when the new college appointments were done, when we did those in January and they reoriented the mission away from the whole DEI CRT framework, there's a lot of interest in faculty around the country, and not like conservative faculty across the board, because I think there's a recognition that this whole framework has been very intellectually oppressive. People feel like they're walking on eggshells, that they say the wrong thing, they can be blackballed. That's not a healthy environment. They don't believe that they have the freedom to speak their minds on a lot of these university campuses. And so they see a college like New College or a system like Florida going in the other direction where we're welcoming that debate. There's a lot of people that are going to be interested in that. So I'm excited about the prospects of our university presidents recruiting great talent to come to our universities here in the state of Florida. And this bill also doubles down on our commitment to civics education, particularly in higher education. So we're doing $30 million to the Hamilton Center for Classical Civic Education at the University of Florida. They've identified one of the classic buildings that's going to be able to be kind of retrofitted to have classrooms and dorms and all these great things. And that's going to be a place where you're going to have people like the president of the University of Florida, Ben Sass. He'll be able to recruit faculty directly to Hamilton Center. Eventually, we may even make that a separate college at the University of Florida, but that's going to be a place where all these subjects, which were just so essential for most of our history, and certainly the American founders would have said you have to have grounding in all this stuff, that is going to be front and center at a place like the Hamilton Institute. So that's a great shot in the arm for them. The bill also invests $8 million to reinvigorate the Florida Institute of Politics at FSU, and they're going to rename it Florida Institute of Governance and Civics, and then it gives another $5 million to expand the Adam Smith Center for Study of Economic Freedom at Florida International University. The budget, as I mentioned, the legislature is giving money for faculty recruitment. That's $100 million in this year's budget just to recruit faculty to our institutions, and some of it will go, obviously, New College is getting a big chunk of that, University of Florida, Florida State, FIU, all these, but just think how empowering that's going to be able to do. You know, some of these professors that do a really good job, you know, they don't get paid a lot in some of these places, and so I think we're willing to pay for performance. And if you're going to make a difference in our students' academic journeys, then that's something that we think deserves compensation. So people are going to have some options now that's going to be really, really positive. So that's a huge, huge bill to be able to do. And Richard will mention, total amount this year for new college, in addition to what they've gotten in the past, we did $35 million addition for faculty hiring and also for them to do other improvements at the university. I don't think they've ever gotten that infusion in the history of the college. So we are committed to the mission here. I would love for this to be, and I think it will be, the top classical liberal arts college in America. Certainly to be the top state liberal arts college in America. And if you look at in-state tuition in Florida, to be able to come here versus going someplace out of state, I mean, for a Florida resident, this is a no-brainer. But then you look at some of the parents out of state, what is it, $16,000 for out-of-state tuition, $16,000, $17,000 for out-of-state tuition. You know, there's a lot of states, their in-state tuition is more than that. I think Michigan, I think Virginia, I think some of those. So what a great opportunity to get a high-quality yet affordable education, even for people out of state. So I think you're going to see a lot of interest in the application process over the next few years. So big deal on that bill. But we're also doing House Bill 931. That prohibits public institutions of higher education from requiring students, faculty, or staff to take what are effectively political loyalty oaths. They will call them diversity statements, but it's really requiring you to sign up to support an ideological agenda that you may not be supportive of. And what we've seen across the country, schools requiring professors to commit to DEI and CRT theories before they are allowed to be hired at a university. And that is not going to fly in the state of Florida. We want people to be free thinkers. The way that's been applied is, in some instances in other parts of the country, a professor candidate who says their view is that everyone should be treated equally regardless of their skin color, that they would get marked down for saying that. I thought that that was what we were aspiring to. No, you have to take these other contorted views for them to find you acceptable. So that is wrong, and I think you've seen a lot of opposition to that, you know, regardless of political persuasion. And so Florida, that is next here. Bill also establishes an Office of Public Policy events within each state university to organize events on campus that are representative of a wide range of viewpoints, thoughts, and ideas. You know, we believe that a good education is going to expose you to a lot of different ideas. You should have your assumptions challenged about how you see certain issues. That's a healthy thing. I think some of the universities around the country where orthodoxy has taken hold, a lot of these students can go through 4 years, get a degree, and never have their assumptions challenged. And then they get into the real world, and sometimes it can be a rude awakening. So we think it's just better for education as a whole to be able to do that. We also think that Florida is welcoming opposing viewpoints, and that's something that on an institutional level we must do, but it's also something that students should be willing to accept. What you saw at places like Stanford Law School, where they're trying to silence a federal judge that they disagree with, where they had San Francisco State University, where you have this great swimmer, Riley Gaines, being treated absolutely horribly because she's standing up for the integrity of women's sports. You know, that is wrong. It also really, I think, shows a cancer that's developed in some of these institutions amongst the student body. The idea that if there's a viewpoint you disagree with, that the appropriate recourse is to try to drown them out by yelling or screaming or trying to take over the event. That is antithetical to what a free society is all about. And I think if there's behavior like you saw at Stanford or like you saw at San Francisco State University by students in Florida universities, they should be expelled from the university.